Dell stock is pretty remarkable right now for a number of reasons. I mean, the first most obvious is it's up 370% over the last 5 years. The S&P 500 is only up 100% over that same time frame, and it pays a decent dividend, roughly the same as the S&P 500. So nothing against it there. Also, the PE is fairly low. I mean, right, 22 and a quarter. That's really not that high at all. We're going to look at Ford PE and dive into that a little bit later. But also, it's a tech stock, right? Which, for me, that's a big plus. I like things in that sort. They aren't selling toothbrushes, right? Which, nothing against companies that sell toothbrushes. There's room in a portfolio for that if you want that. But, they do server stuff, right? And data centers are huge right now. They're building so many. Like, Dell is not an unvaluable company. They don't do something super niche, right? So all of those hit, right? So you're kind of sitting here. How is a stock that's up 372% over the last 5 years seem almost sort of undervalued, right? That just seems crazy. But that may be the reality. I mean, let's look here. I already scrolled down the page, just showing you this is the right stock. Its forward PE is 15.5. Its PE is 22. This doesn't seem that remarkable, but the S&P 500 average right now is 27 PE, and that's every company in it. And there's banks in that, right? There's stocks that don't have the ceiling that Dell does. Whether you think it's gonna go up an insane amount, it already has, but let's look real quick at the 10-year performance. Hasn't even been IPO'd for 10 years, and it's up nearly 900%. Just phenomenal stuff. Yeah, so like I said, 15.5 forward PE. This is if you ignore the up 3.5%, right, the last 5 years, if you ignore the up 9 times over the last 8.5 years, and you just looked at this, you said, this is a tech stock. This is a good growing tech stock. And you saw this multiple, you would think this is a cheap company. You would. And if you didn't, you're probably lying to yourself. Like, this is good. This is cheap. I mean, I've been looking at some, like, you can look at Arista Networks, right? Arista Networks. They've gone up a lot. Their PE is 55 right now, right? Wingstop, their PE is like 120. Their forward PE is like 90, right? And yeah, they're going insanely fast, and they're rare because they don't have a lot of companies in their market that you can get the growth that they have, right? But like, this is not. I don't look at this and say, "Wow, this is super expensive." Right? Yeah, it's gone up, but you're paying for it. I'm not saying that with Dell. I'm really not. Like I said, decent dividend. It increased earlier this year. You look at the earnings. Also, they hit all their earnings estimates this year. Some by a lot, some by barely. But you can probably expect them to hit this, right? If you're being a little generous, you may even say it's probably 14 because they'll probably beat it by a little bit, right? And, most of you know what Dell does. I've heard of Dell, all these sort of things. You can pause and read it if you want to. Data center, right? Switches. I work in a pseudo data center, and we use switches. We use Dell stuff, HP stuff, all that sort of thing. So the demand is clearly real. It's clearly here. I'm still just kind of dumbfounded by how much they've gone up, right? And they're still at this multiple. I want to look a little bit here. Yeah, so part of it is just the run up. I mean, they were valued at 13.42 PE, right? So over the last, year and a half, I want to look back at the graph since 4:30. Yeah, so since here, I mean, they've tripled their share price, right, from 40 to 120, but they've also doubled their PE. So part of it's just people saw it and it was undervalued, and they made money off that too. But I mean, like I said, this still isn't overvalued. It really isn't. Like, now, you got to look deeper into the company. I think they've been around a bit longer than they've been IPO'd. I don't know if they've always been like a super storied successful, but the success as of recent seems to be real. And that, you just got to hit it right a few times. So they're a fairly large market cap. They're certainly a top 500 company in the United States. They aren't ginormous, but they're rather big, right? Now let's look a little bit at what analysts have to say. We aren't going to dive super deep into earnings today. Schwab thinks it's going to be a C, which they think it's going to be slightly below average. So they still think it'll go up, I think. This is their 1 year estimate. I think that's how they do it. So an average stock, the average stock goes up in any given year, assuming they aren't expecting things to go down. So they think it's going to go up a conservative amount, right? But not insane. So let's look at this. Morningstar, 3-star. Economic moat, none is so interesting. I generally hate this scaling of 0, 3, 10. That's how I read this, right? None, narrow, wide, right? So I generally do not like this scaling system, but I think I would actually, this is one of the first times I'm actually generally disagreeing. I don't know how you can say they have none versus narrow. A company of this size, right? I would assume almost all of you have heard of Dell. They advertise. I think they've advertised a good amount. And I've definitely seen Dell products like fairly often. And that's not everything having name awareness, but it's something, right? It really is. And what they do isn't like, they aren't the only ones that do. They have competition. They do. I'm not going to dive super deep into it, but they do have some competition. But to say I'd still give it a 4 or a 5, right? I'd give it a narrow. So usually I don't disagree with this too much, but I really do here. Buy, long, buy, ESG score. Like I said, we're not going to do super deep into earnings, but beat. Everyone's saying buy right now. So they definitely disagree with Schwab. Out of 24 analysts, I can't even see that number, but it looks like less than 4. 4 or 5 out of 24 analysts are saying hold, the rest are saying buy. Price target's decent. So just to wrap, you do whatever you want with your money. However, if you're looking to add another tech stock, right? If I was in this position, if I was looking to add another tech stock and you want a fairly low risk with a company that has had a history of success in a good field, it's very, very difficult to have so many things line up. It really is. To have PE below the S&P 500 significantly, to have a company that has outperformed the S&P 500 significantly, and to have a $5 billion market cap. This is a large company, right? Like I said, a tech field that is valuable and growing. It is very, very rare to find a stock that has all these things coming. It's not impossible. Clearly, this one exists. If I tried hard, I could name you a few within this range, right? But it is difficult. Not a lot. You may be looking back and saying, wow, I should have bought this, should have bought more. I cannot speak for it. Please do more research. But this is one where I am eyeing closely, because when things like this align, usually one of the metric falls out eventually, right? And I don't think they're going to stop doing what they do. So either they're going to stop growing, or this PE multiple. If they have this success for another year or two, this PE multiple is going to be near 30, assuming, the market stays normal. It's just going to, or they're going to stop their growth, because this is not valued at a company that is going up 3.5 times over a 5-year stretch. It's just not. You can look at other companies. It's just not, right? It's just not. So, anyways, I've said enough about this stock. I think it's very good right now. I do. But anyways, that's all I have for this video. I'd appreciate if you made it this far. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comment section. Leave a like on the video. If you enjoy, it really does help out the video performance significantly. I notice that when someone watches and leaves a like on a video, they perform much better. If you enjoyed and want to see more similar content, please subscribe. Anyways, that's all I have for today, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.